Hello everyone! Happy New Year! I hope you had an amazing time with your family and friends and that you set a lot of great intentions to 2018. And this is my first video of the year. I'm definitely a YouTuber now. I'm being consistent. Yay! I think this is a very big goal for me, to be consistent recording videos to you, bringing valuable information. So thank you for being here, for watching and for learning, getting inspired. And if you have any questions or anything that you feel you want to know more about me, about my job, or things that I'm talking here, please let me know on the comments of this video. That will be my pleasure to make a video for you or answer the questions. So first of all, for those who don't know me yet and are watching this video for the first time, my name is Nath Eustáquio. I'm a transition coach and I help immigrant women to adapt, transition to a new country and feel empowered wherever they are. So welcome to my channel. The video today was requested for many people after I recorded a video talking about giving tips on how to get jobs in the US. Some people were curious, how was my experience getting a job in the US? So this is the theme of the video today that I want to share with you all. If you didn't subscribe to my channel yet, please do right now because we are going to start. Let's go. Okay, let me give you a little background of my story. I was an au pair for 2 years, and after that I got married because I met my husband. We were having a relationship, and then after that we married, and then I was staying here. He's also an immigrant and he was on a work visa, so I was a dependent for a few months, but I could get my EAD, which is the employment authorization, the permission to work. And then after a few months we were married. I got my permission to work, which was in May 2016. It has a little bit more than a year and a half that I got my permission to work. And I was looking for jobs since February. So let me tell you how I was feeling in February 2016, okay? I was feeling very overwhelmed, very insecure, and very anxious about this whole process of finding a job in the US. Do you have similar feelings about that? And another thing that people asked me was how long it took me to find a job. It took me around 6 months. I started looking for jobs in February and I found a job in September. And one thing that concerned me the most when I was starting to look for jobs was that I would not be able to work on my field. My background is in psychology. I was a psychologist in Brazil. I was specialized in clinical psychology and rehabilitation, so I had experience in my country and my knowledge was very valuable there. But here I thought that no one would accept all my experience and my knowledge because there was no one here. That's what I thought. But if you were thinking that, let me tell you right now, that's not true. Your knowledge, your experience, they are valuable anywhere you go because this makes you who you are and this makes you a professional in that field. And you are the first person who needs to value that. At that point, I really wanted a job and I did not want to work as an au pair or a nanny anymore because I knew I was capable of doing a lot more than that. Nothing against being a nanny. I loved being an au pair, which is basically a living nanny for 2 years, and it was a very valuable experience for me at that time of my life, but I was ready for the next step. I was ready to start working in the marketplace in the US and understanding what was my place there. And I wanted to start building my career at a certain point in my life, because I left my career in Brazil and here was my new home, and I needed to start from somewhere. So what were the things that I did? What did I do when I started looking for jobs? Well, I opened a profile on LinkedIn and I updated all of that. I worked on my LinkedIn to look professional, so it could be if someone that I knew that I was networking with would ask my LinkedIn, I knew that my LinkedIn was on point and that they could go there and see my experiences and my knowledge and all of that. And I started looking for jobs online. I used Google platforms to discover which websites were the work websites in the US, and I found Indeed, Monsters, and those websites like that. I used mostly Indeed because I had to learn a little bit how to use the website and how to apply for the positions. The platform that I used to look for jobs was mostly Indeed.com, and Indeed was giving me a lot of positions already. I didn't look into other websites so much because Indeed was already putting a lot to my plate, and I was already comfortable understanding how to apply for positions and how to see if they were answering me or not. So I
mostly used LinkedIn. Oh, I mostly used Indeed.com.
When I started looking for jobs, I realized that I needed to have a resume, and they were asking a lot of questions, and some of them to apply you had to answer specific questions, and I didn't have anything that done previously, so I was, getting all stressed and afraid because I thought that my answers were being stupid or I was committing too much English mistakes, grammatical mistakes. So I was not feeling confident at all with my answers. So I decided to stop a little bit and to start working on my answers to understand what are the things that I wanted and creating really my resume, understanding my experiences and how could I apply this to look for a job in the US? How could I transfer all my experience, all my knowledge to the language that the American culture understands and value? So one thing that I did that helped me a lot when I was building my resume was to send my resume to some American people that I knew here, that I met during my au pair years, and they were really helpful because they knew how to look for jobs here, and they knew how to correct my grammar mistakes, so this was really helpful. Another thing that helped me a lot was to go to the employment security department in Redmond. That was the city that I was living at, and but I bet there are other departments in the US that you can look for, and this department, I will leave the link on the description of this video because they have centers that takes care of everything regarding the marketplace and the work to help the worker or the person who wants to become a worker. So I went there to a workshop about resumes. So the teacher, he was giving tips on how to build a resume, how the online platforms were selecting the resume, so keywords that you need to use depending of the positions that you were looking for, basic tips on things to say when you go to the interview, what are the things that the recruiters are looking for in a person. And it was really helpful to me because it gave me a different perspective of my job search. So it really helped me to feel more confident and to know some key things about looking for a job in the US. A mistake that I committed that I really wish please don't commit the same mistake that I did was to look for any position, because I was so insecure with myself and with my English and everything. Even though my English was good, it was not so different than it is right now. I'm just more comfortable talking on camera and talking to people, but my English skills were not bad necessarily, but my confidence was very low, and I thought it was my English, but it was actually my confidence. And I committed a mistake because of that. I was looking for any position. I was like, okay, I just want to start, so it doesn't matter where. But this was giving me a lot of anxious feelings, and I was, before getting a job, already frustrated with the job that I could possibly get, because I was seeing myself unhappy doing something that I did not want to do. So please don't do that. You can choose the job and the field, at least, that you want to work on. So please choose before looking for any position. This will help you to get your resume good for that field, and will help you prepare yourself better for that field, for that area. You don't, because I know that's something that happened with us. For example, I was a psychologist in Brazil. I knew that to become a psychologist here, I would have to go back to school again. So what were the other things that I could do that were related to psychology? That is the field that I love to work with. So I had to stop and rethink my profession, rethink my experience, and I really advise you to do the same, because this will save you time and will save you a lot of frustration if you get a job that you didn't want to be at. So just for you to have an idea, I went to an interview to be a game tester. I hate video games. Nothing against if you love it, but I don't. And I never played, I used to play when I was 15 years old, once a year, when I went to vacation to my cousins in Pernambuco, and we would play Guitar Hero together. That's the only video game that I played when I was a teenager, and I didn't play in my adulthood. So I didn't know anything about video games, and I went to an interview to be a game tester. So imagine the disaster that it was. It is funny telling right now, but I felt so bad when I got out the interview, because the guy asked, I remember on the little test, they were asking me what is
a console, what a console do, what's your favorite game, do you prefer Xbox or Nintendo, X, whatever, answer why, give the points, and I was like, oh my god, what am I doing here?
So please don't do that with yourself. You don't need to do that with yourself, okay? So after that disaster, what I decided to do, and that's what I'm telling you to do, is to look for jobs in your field at least. So that's what I did. After this disaster experience, I started to look for jobs in the behavioral science, in the psychology field, even though I was not applying for psychologists' positions. So what I did, I looked for front desk positions, secretary positions, therapist assistant positions, that I could be in the clinic, seeing the clients, working with the schedule, understanding how the insurance companies work, understanding, having contact with another therapists, so I could start at least building my network and understanding how it is to be a therapist in the US. And that was really my path. And that's when I decided to do that, things started moving forward in my job search. And then there was this company called Sandbox that was a small clinic in Redmond, the same city that I was living at that time, that had many positions open for therapist assistant, for front desk, and I applied for both of them. And then they asked me to go to an interview for the front desk position, and I was like, oh, okay, this gives me more hours, I will be there in the clinic and I will know the therapist and blah blah blah. So I went to the interview, and then the interviewer saw my resume, and I had put all my experiences that I had in psychology there, and then she asked me,
why did you apply to the front desk position? You can be a therapist assistant.
And I was like, oh, can I? And she said,
well, can I interview you to the therapist assistant position?
And I was like, yeah, sure. So I went to the interview to be interviewed for the front desk, but she actually interviewed me to be a therapist assistant. And the interview was amazing, and I was able to express my knowledge. I was able to show her that I knew to work with kids, that I knew about autism. And on the next day, she called me and she offered me the job.
And I was so happy. Ah.
After 6 months, I had finally found a job as a therapist assistant. And I would work, seriously guys, I worked exactly like a therapist. And I was so happy and I got so much experience from this job. Before that interview, I also went to another therapist assistant positions, and one didn't get me because I was overqualified and they didn't want to pay me what I was asking for. They want to pay me really low, and I didn't want to get $11 an hour to be a therapist assistant. I thought I could get more than that. The other one offered me the position, but I was already with Sandbox. So I did 3 interviews for therapist assistant and I did 1 interview for game tester. I applied for many positions. I don't even know how many, but I got those 4 interviews and I think that was great, and that I had experience. I had Sandbox was my last one, so it was my 4th one. So I had 3 interviews before to practice and to get to the 4th and really perform well. And I think this is something that I want to give you as a tip as well. Don't see the no that you get from an interview as a bad thing. See it as an experience. Sometimes we need some no's to get the experience to get to the 5th, to the 6th interview and really understand what were our mistakes and how to do it differently. So don't worry if the process takes a long time or a little time. It's a process, and we are getting ready and we are learning and we are growing on this experience. I think there is still a lot to say about my experience looking for my first job here in the US. I think that the points that I mentioned were the highlights, were the most important ones. And I hope you get some valuable tips from my story. And please let me know in which phase or in which part of the process you are. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comments. If you like this video, please hit the button like. I appreciate that. And I hope you have a wonderful 2018, that you can watch many videos to come, and let's grow together on this year. So beijos and see you next week.